flagship killer is a cliche that's quite old and tired by now. However, I think this phone actually has a shout at claiming this title. This is Abdullah, and let me tell you about one of the phones that I've enjoyed using the most this year. The Motorola Edge 20 Pro. And let me start by saying I would easily recommend this phone to anybody looking for a premium experience who isn't willing to sell a kidney just yet. However, there are certainly some things you need to know about the Moto before you decide to spend your money on it. So without further ado, here's exactly what you need to know about the Moto Edge 20 Pro. For a start, this phone easily nails most of the basics. The display, for example, is fantastic. It's a 6.7-inch OLED display that can go up to 144 Hz. And even though it's only a 1080p panel, I think the color tuning and the saturation and the viewing angles are perfect. And take the battery life, for example. Yes, this phone only has a 4500 mAh battery capacity, which isn't exactly massive. However, the battery life has been consistently excellent for me. It has always managed to last me at least one full day of usage after about 5 hours of screen on time, and I'd usually end the day with between 30 and 35% battery life still left. And the performance is buttery smooth. You don't even need to force it at 144 Hz to enjoy very smooth, buttery performance throughout the whole UI. And even though the Snapdragon 870 is second in line in Qualcomm's lineup, in my opinion, it's probably the best chipset they've released this year. And this is because it offers usable performance that is practically identical to the 888 without being a hand warmer. So it doesn't overheat, it's very consistent, and it's very fast. And having the 12 gigs of RAM, which is in my opinion a bit of an overkill, definitely makes sure that there is enough headroom for any task you throw at the Moto. In one word, the performance is flawless. And Motorola definitely nailed the design and the build. The phone has a solid aluminum frame all around the edges. It has a glass back with a matte finish, which means that it won't leave your fingerprint museum all over the device. It feels nice in the hand and quite solid. There are very minimal bezels all around the display. And I really appreciate how nice this blue color is. It's subtle enough to look good even with a suit and doesn't look boring. Ergonomically though, there are definitely some weird decisions here. For example, the volume rocker buttons and the fingerprint scanner, which is integrated into the power button, are in my opinion fitted a bit too high on the device. So you need to stretch your thumb just a little bit in order to reach them. And the same can be said on the left hand side of the device where the Google Assistant button is. However, I'm really not complaining, as the less this button is in your way, the better. My other complaint about the hardware of the Moto is that it sadly follows some of the silly flagship trends we've seen recently, like the lack of a 3.5mm headphone jack anywhere on the device and the lack of a micro SD slot. The latter is a bit more acceptable because you do get up to 256 gigs of internal storage. However, the first is sorely missed. And there's also a single bottom firing speaker, which isn't ideal, but the sound quality is okay. As for the main reason I would easily recommend this device, it's because of the software experience. In my opinion, Moto absolutely nailed it. Android 11 on the Moto looks and feels like a stock Android experience. However, there are a lot of nice additions that make this a very nice device even for power users. From the additional useful gestures, like the 3 fingers in order to enable a screenshot, to quickly shaking the device to enable the torch, which is really cool, to peak display, which is Moto's always on display, which shows you all of your notifications without you having to turn on the display, and it even gives you additional information if you tap on every icon. I really love this peak display feature. There's also all the customization options that you want, so you can change fonts, you can change icon shapes, you can change the main color of the whole operating system, and all of this makes the software experience on this particular Moto the best I've used this year. I would even go as far as saying that this is probably the best implementation of Android that we have right now. So well done, Moto. Now for me personally, the biggest weakness with this Moto is actually its cameras. And before I tell you why, if you're enjoying my content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps. On paper, everything seems great. So you have a 108 megapixel main shooter which uses pixel binning, and an 8 megapixel periscope camera capable of up to 5x optical zoom. And you also have a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera. So all the basic ingredients are there. The phone is even capable of shooting up to 8K video or 4K video at 60 frames per second. So even when it comes to options and camera settings, you'll probably have everything you'll need. For me personally, I'm just not happy with the way the main camera actually processes the images. For what is on paper very powerful camera hardware, I just always felt like I wanted a bit more. I wanted a bit more details, I wanted a bit more sharpness, and I definitely wanted much better low light performance. Not that I think the images are bad, and I'll even show you some samples and you'll probably really like them. But I just wanted a bit better, and I just wasn't happy with the level of details that this camera captures, despite looking perfect on paper. And this is the sort of difference that differentiates this from much more expensive devices. And I know I might sound overcritical, especially considering that you can definitely get really nice pictures out of this thing for the occasional photo here and there. But I just wish the camera was a bit better. And I'm hoping that Moto actually addresses this issue in a software update, as I definitely think that they're not making the most out of the hardware they actually have here. Anyway, this concludes the story of the Moto Edge 20 Pro. There are definitely some compromises to be made compared to an ultra flagship, as you would expect from a device that costs about 60 to 70% as much as the most expensive flagships out there. Things such as wireless charging, for example, or even an official IP rating for water and dust resistance. But as an overall package, I think this is an excellent one. And yeah, you might even find some phones that definitely beat it here and there when it comes to the perceived value, at least on paper. But in terms of overall experience, it's very hard to find a phone that actually beats this. So yeah, hats off to Moto for pulling this off. Anyways, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like if you've enjoyed the content and found it useful, and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying what I'm doing so far. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.